All right, Doc. So welcome to today's training that we have set up. And thank you for joining me. And obviously, we're going to be reviewing ultravation. And just a quick background on me, since you and I have now virtually met. So reminder, we manage the entire Northeast for ultravation from Delaware to Maine. They're based up in Vermont. I've been doing this as far as the HVAC sector for over 7 years. Been around the sales and marketing front for a long time. I really lead with the training factor, which is why I'm running all these for our company. So, but most of my travels are your neck of the woods, upstate New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. And we have other teammates that handle the other regions. So I just want to give you a quick background on how I play around. So that being said, so let's get into ultravation here. So we for this training, we spent a lot of time digging back into the ASHRAE guidelines, digging into the CDC guidelines with everything going on right now, and we restructured this training for that exact purpose. So today we're just going to refresh on defining the actual IAQ technologies, actually helping people really differentiate the UVC versus UVGI. These are official terms documented in those guidelines. Right. Obviously, the ASHRAE recommendations, what they've aligned with, what we're aligning with. And then obviously the product recommendations that we're helping people narrow down to, because ultravation makes so much tech that it is overwhelming when you go to the website. So we're trying to hone that to a residential offering and a commercial offering to help people understand that. And then there'll be a little differentiation on the competition, because not all products are created equal, which you're going to find out today. So that being said, refresher. One thing we ask everybody in this industry, if you're doing IAQ, always ask when, where, and why. Every consumer is different. Business, residential, are they addressing something as simple as filtration? Do they want to get into the discussion of UV disinfection? And then there is a difference between UV disinfection for surface area and then obviously UV air purification for the supply. So, and this is just a fun mock-up we use at Ultravation, showing actually in the upper right-hand corner here, we've added this. That's our ionizer. We do actually work with ionization technology, which actually has been around longer than UV, but has made a comeback. And then we actually show, obviously, a return coming in. We have our high-end 5-inch media filtration solutions we do. We have, this is just an example of some of the UV lamp technology with directional shields that, can be done on a coil application residentially. And then obviously we have supply solutions coming out of the equipment are then targeted more at adding and increasing air purification, which we're going to get into as well. That being said, let's get the definitions out of the way. So a lot of verbiage is being thrown around. And again, this is all terminology that has now become industry standard. Some people are up on it, some are not. So a real quick clarification for a lot of people is UVGI. So a lot of people just hear UV. They hear UVA, UVB, UVC. So UVA, UV, we'll get into that later as well. Those are different wavelengths. But if you are using UVC lamps in an HVAC system, then you automatically can say that you are using UVGI technology. That's the short and skinny on it. I don't need to make it more complex than that. We need to understand that, okay, well, yes, I'm using UVC class lamps in the equipment, but whether I'm addressing a coil or an Airstream solution, then I would be talking about, hey, I'm using UVGI technology on the coil, I'm using UVGI technology in the Airstream, et cetera. PCO, we've been working with photocatalytic oxidation for a long time. Again, in order for this technology to even work, you have to have a UVC class bulb, because that is the most potent wavelength of the UV frequency. And then you need a catalyst component, which is the TiO2, which is the titanium dioxide. So a lot of our products are either coated or infused with that technology to create that increased field around the device. And actually, I'm going to show a quick video for you as well that just basically gives you a representation of one of our most popular products using that, but it's basically visually gives you some representation of how PCO works. So let me switch the screen share over there and give you a quick overview on that. So this is our photocatalytic oxidation, just a very, very short video, like less than a minute probably. So let me hit play on that. So any questions on that?
No, it works a lot like lithium bromide scrubbers aboard submarines. So
there you go. A little bit of military background there.
Third generation.
All right, I love it. All right, so then I'll quick switch back here. There's another video I'm going to show you quickly with no audio. But real quick, the last piece I wanted to at least hit on is ionization, because if you've already hinted that you've had people, you've been working with IAQ. Some people are very afraid, or not, I want to say afraid, but they're drawn away from the UV tech if they have a sensitivity to a ozone factor, which, as we know, with PCO and photocatalytic oxidation, that is actually the only byproduct really coming from that. And the percentage of the actual human population that has any kind of sensitivity to that smell is very rare. But if people have that concern, they've usually switched back to the ionization world. But now, thanks to its resurgence, we've also found other benefits, obviously, increasing the value and potential of filtration, increasing actually other ways to help disinfect the air and break things down at the micro level like that. Because obviously, we're dealing with positive and negative ions regarding ionization, which is a technology similar to Mother Nature's lightning across the sky. That's how we kind of translate that. So that being said, we have a nice little animation on that, which is just a great helping people understand that, hey, okay, I have a positive and negative ion generator. What does that mean? Okay, well, so obviously our generation system is releasing both. Not all generators do, I found out. Some ionization techs only do one or the other. The whole point here is you're getting these components targeted. And then, well, biggest thing from a filtration perspective is this is helping them literally stick together. So you're taking these micro components that normally would not catch in a filter, helping them bond together and increase the abilities of that filtration process. And then obviously there's other byproducts of that, right? Breaking things down, improving air quality as well. So we actually have a lot of people, and I'll show you in a little bit what our ion generator looks like. A lot of people are using them now, even in commercial applications too. And some of our higher end residential solutions I'm going to show you here in a second actually have the ionization technology added in along with the UV. And that's one of the products we'll be recommending today as well, because that's basically got all the bells and whistles. So that being said, we can move on past all these fun definitions. So this image directly out of chapter 62 of the ASHRAE guideline. Obviously, we all know that this isn't fake. UV's been around for a while. It would not be in that handbook if it wasn't.
That's correct.
So have you gone through 62 in a while?
Actually, I was a code enforcement officer for 17 years.
That's right. You said that.
So in and out of that book more times than I care to count.
Well, then I'm sorry to hear that. And and we don't need to spend much time on that. So we did a lot. This city, like I said, the city is very old. They have a lot of old buildings, and trying to bring them up to the Energy Conservation Code and ASHRAE codes and everything else it was a constant fight for the last 10 years of my career. Oh, wow. Well, I'm glad you got to help Impact, because there's some enforcers out there that don't even want to deal with it, I found out.
No, there's a couple of loopholes that you can hide behind, but we do a lot of work with Habitat for Humanity, so they're doing a lot of complete rehab work, and we got a lot of work with both ASHRAE and Energy Conservation Code and everything else to try and bring these repaired buildings up to something that looks like modern code.
I love that. Years ago, I worked with a Habitat for about 2 years straight in my free time, and I got really good at framing, got really good at roofing.
Yep.
And you learn a lot. So I still have my framing hammer that was given me by the head of the Habitat chapter here. So it's, I don't use it very often because it can make a mess. So anyway, so obviously you know the image, you know the chapter.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
We have all these links that we call it here on the right hand of the slide on our website, because ASHRAE was kind enough to make chapter 62 public. So I don't have to download the entire book. It actually is something we have linked to all of our blog articles, so to help get people more wrapped around this stuff. And that was refreshing to find. So anyway, you know this, where they pretty much target in the guidelines. Are you dealing with surfaces? Are you dealing with airstream? And that's ASHRAE's position. They're not talking about the new LED technology, which we have too. They're not talking about ionization, and they're not really talking about PCO. They're trying to keep things really clean and simple, which is the foundation here of UVC. So I like to remind everybody on this training, the wavelengths. There are products out there being sold and promoted using UVA and UVB wavelengths. But as you know and I know, that these are not all created equal. We need the most destructive packet of energy, which is that UVC class. You need that 254 nanometers, which again, this is why it's not safe for a contractor or if a homeowner or a business owner watches this training video, please trust your HVAC pro trade contractors who know enough to turn the lights off if they're working on the equipment, because it can injure or burn your skin and obviously damage your retinas. This is designed for some purification processes. So that's why they're hidden inside of HVAC equipment, not out in the middle of a room, which somebody called me last week and asked if they could do. So comedy aside, we remind everybody, okay, the other importance is, what is the proximity of going away from the lamp? So even at 12 inches away from the lamp, you're still getting, over 1200 microwatts of exposure. So that's why when we're talking about surface applications, which we'll talk about in a second, that's why proximity helps. Now in the airstream, not as much, because you're creating that field, especially if you have PCO added in, and that's going to create a field. So as the air is passing by, it's continuously being treated as it's being recirculated through the house, the building, etc. So we do remind everybody that UVC is the best. That's what should be recommended. That is in alignment with the CDC guidelines, the ASHRAE guidelines, and that's really the short and skinny on it. And I do remind people that the whole point there is we literally want to break down live microorganisms. So that's the whole point of this discussion and this training right now, is how does that impact cleaner HVAC systems? How does that impact cleaner air as we know it? So I just want to refresh everybody, UVC, UVGI. As a reminder, UVC is the lamp type, and it's also obviously the wavelength of the electromagnetic UV spectrum. The UVGI terminology is the technology. That's the tool. So once you've applied UVC lamps into a solution, now you're applying UVGI technology to that said application. So obviously, if we're doing it for coils, we're putting UVGI on the coil. If we're going into the airstream, we're putting UVGI technology into the airstream. If you're in commercial applications, which we'll show at the end of this, commercially, upper room is becoming a popular item of discussion now. It was bigger in Europe. These are for bigger, wide open rooms. I'll show you in a minute. But obviously, if we're dealing with that, then we're putting UVGI in the upper room, et cetera, et cetera. So that's just a refresher on terminology. Now, here's an important slide. T3, that is not an industry term. That is our term because we patented it. Not all UV bulbs are created equal. So most UVC lamps have a standard 9,000 hour operation life cycle. That is a basically 1 year bulb. They're all bulbs, most manufacturers, Philips, everybody who makes the bulbs, like for us, et cetera, they're guaranteed for 2 years of lighting up. So when people say, oh, I got a 2 year warranty bulb, I'm like, okay, yes, you have a 2 year warranty bulb, but is it a 9,000 hour bulb or is it an 18,000 hour bulb? So our T3 bulbs are rated for 18,000 hour, 2 year life cycles for your maintenance rotation. And one of the advantages of that is because our patented design has the bulb encapsulated in this quartz sleeve, as we show here in the mock-up, and then a gas layer in between that to create an insulation factor. Why is that important? Well, per the graph, you could light up a bulb all you want. If you're running cooling in the middle of summer and there's cold air flying by those bulbs, they're not hitting their peak capacity. They're not hitting their peak intensity. So from an energy release and from an efficiency standpoint, having this design bulb, which is in all of our commercial applications and in all of our higher end residential applications as a standard tech, your bulb can actually hit that true peak 100% potential. Besides the fact that, yes, great, I don't have to change that bulb every year. I can come back every 2 years. So that's an important clarification. We do have non-T3 models and we have T3 models. But the beauty of this is that it's not just obviously hitting peak intensity, but you're going to get the most UV disinfection out of that bulb. You're going to get actually a more efficiency out of the bulb because you're not affected by these temperature changes. So the bulb is just more efficient. So it's going to impact your electrical costs. And obviously, thanks to the encasement around it, it's also helping the bulb stay cleaner because, you can't touch your bulbs with your fingers. You should be wearing a glove. So if I've got that wrapped in an encased coating like this, what's one less factor I have to worry about for a human mistake? So this is obviously our recommended bulb for our applications. That's our patented design. And I love to clarify that because, again, not all manufacturers are created equal. So this graph I absolutely love. We pulled it out of our commercial side of the company. And because the reason why I say that is because at the bottom here where it says UV Matrix SI and UV Matrix AS in blue and green, those are the models of some of our commercial solutions. But I like to use this graph because it applies whether I'm talking residentially or commercially. The whole point here is we're talking about per ASHRAE, right? Are we dealing with coil, like surface area, or are we dealing with airstream? And this is a great reminder that if I'm just concerned with streptococcus or some of these other surface area contaminants, great, I'm just talking about a coil solution. I need to get some UVGI technology onto a coil. Let's keep those surfaces clean. Let's keep the bacteria from growing, et cetera. But as you move up this scale from all these examples into the influenza world, right? Riovirus, Vaccinia, influenza A, and then all the way up to echovirus. Well, okay, now you're dealing with something more airborne. This isn't just a surface concern. So now if somebody tells me, hey, I'm trying to deal with echovirus or airborne spores, well, clearly I can't stop with just a coil application because I'm only going to be about 23 to 33% effectiveness. I have to add in an airstream solution to ensure I can reach that 99% potential of actually solving for what we're dealing with. So that's why we're always reminding techs and everybody else, like sometimes you have to ask that question, what are we solving for? Is it just general disinfection? Well, then great, you don't actually have a target. But other applications, especially on the commercial side, if people are truly concerned with airborne viruses, okay, we need to be talking about coil and airstream solutions, not just one or the other. So this graph is in all of our commercial literature. This is on our site. I just like to call it out on here because it gives us a more better wraparound on this whole bacteria versus viruses discussion point. So we'll go pop through our residential solutions. This is just a refresher slide that we're not just dealing, obviously, with, UV, right? We actually are a full IAQ company. We have the high infiltration for large particulate solutions. We obviously, as I hinted, we have the T3 higher class bulbs for a more impact on the biological components. We have obviously ionization, that's our Orion generator. We have UVGI technology, aka UVC lamps, for ductless solutions. So if you need to get UVGI into your ductless, I know you had asked about this. We're talking about that as well today. And then this is an image of our Solaris. That's our higher end induct solution for residential applications as well. So I'm just going to break those down for you. So real quick, I like to also enter into the residential world, something that doesn't exist in most companies. The advantage here is actually a throwaway product we came out with a couple of years ago. People were trying to get a better access point to get access to UVC class, wavelength technology, but at least to help people that are more budget conscious, they're not into the full solution. Maybe they're putting their toe in the water. So we said, great, can we come out with a product that's the cost of one of our standard, UVC bulbs? So this is not an interchangeable bulb. That bulb is fused to the black module. So literally, once you've installed this product, you come back, you take the screws out, you grab that black module, pull the entire bulb out, throw it away, and slap a new one in. So they have a brand new product, brand new warranty. And the only thing that stays in the installation is if you actually included this carbon module accessory that's shown in the image here, which again is an accessory, doesn't have to be included. But obviously the carbon that we use here is actually infused with our PCO, our titanium dioxide. So if I decide to install this Advantage lamp for example, above an end coil on a furnace in the basement, well, I have the UV light shining down onto the coil below it. Well, great. If I got the space in the plenum, why don't I throw a quick, air purification module on there, get some extra PCO going on. It's still not a full-blown high-end solution, but it's better than nothing. So this is something we came out with to help people understand, hey, we can come in lower than a lot of other companies with a throwaway design product. So that's why we call it the Advantage. Again, you can get them in 12-inch, 17-inch options, which is pretty much standard for most residential solutions. And we actually did manufacture the bulb so it can be done in a T3 or non-T3 version. So that's why we have noted down here, 1 or 2 year lamp life. And again, you don't have to order it with a carbon module. That can be just kept aside as an accessory. But the beauty, though, of the carbon is if you install this with the carbon module, that's a zero ozone product because the carbon absorbs the ozone. So that's the difference of when you put titanium dioxide on a metal surface to create the catalyst effect off of a UV bulb, or if you put it into carbon. If you put it into carbon, that becomes a zero ozone product. So that's just a great refresher on that. This is just something we created for a throwaway. Yes, I'm calling it out as a coil recommendation, but obviously if you throw an accessory on, you're getting some Airstream benefits as well. The one thing I'd like to remind everybody is, again, this is pro trade product. That's why we're talking today, Doc, because guess what, guys? Like, this is not a consumer thing. You don't go to Home Depot or Lowe's to buy this stuff. This is pro trade. They should be working with HVAC contractors and HVAC wholesalers only. So if you find these bulbs online, it's probably some contractor selling extra stock on Amazon or something, but we don't support that. So that's the throwaway stuff. As I hinted, this is our higher end solution. This is our Solaris. So this is, and I'm going to show you a comparison shortly here. This is our bells and whistles. This is the top of the line residential solution right now for an induct install, because right now a lot of people throw around other companies like Remy Halo from RGF and other products. So I'm going to show you a comparison here shortly, but this is our top recommended solution right now, only because it's got pretty much the most technology we've ever put out in a single induct option. So again, the other advantage here, and I'm going to show you on the cross-reference here, is also these notable options here on the bottom left is really why I like to call this out. Those advantage products, you got to wire up each one, and then you can throw them away, etc. There's no way to daisy chain like an accessory bulb off of that. These higher end solutions we make, like the Solaris, this power head is capable of powering more than one bulb. So you can do this induct install, but as a contractor, if I want to deal with that whole coil plus Airstream disinfection, great. I'm installing the Solaris in the supply duct, but the beauty is when I pop this power head off, I can actually plug on one of our accessory lamps. So we make all of our higher end solutions the ability to basically take a Y-jack and apply your coil treatment that you have concerns with. So from an install standpoint, you only have to wire one product and then just plug the accessory in and take care of your coil at the same time. So the advantage of the Solaris also is this is not just UV. We actually have included our ionization technology inside the ballast of this unit as well. And we've also, the metal screens on here are actually doubled up. So the video you saw earlier was our most popular selling product forever, which is still sold. It's called the Photomax. And there was a single layer around all four sides of the metal with titanium dioxide on it. Well, this Solaris, we've doubled the surface area. So it's actually 2 zones thick of the metal, which means you have twice as much surface area with the titanium dioxide on it. And I'm going to show you that here in a second. I'm going to switch the screen share over so you can understand where I'm going with this. So we put together a cross-reference with 2 other really popular products, right? So you have APCO is another popular product out there. And the obviously I was hinting at the Remy Halo. So can you see that cross-reference now?
Yep.
All right. And we have this in PDF. I can send this to you. So I like to just call it out. And obviously, we're going to look great. But hey, I just want to be honest and so people can see everything. It's not all products are created equal. So the first thing is, I didn't learn this until we invented the Solaris, what active PCO versus passive PCO is. And if you notice all 3 products, the only one that has carbon on it is the APCO there. Now, we do make another higher end solution like our Solaris that's all carbon, and we actually call it the catalyst because even though you're creating a catalyst effect, and that's what I have in my house. I'm flipping this house into a rental, so I don't want to ever have to worry about a tenant ever having a concern about ozone ever. Now, granted, the Solaris is adjustable, which I'll go over in a second too. But anyway, as far as passive PCO versus active PCO, if it's a passive PCO product, you have to have carbon. Everybody else, the Solaris here versus Remy Halo, there's no carbon on that. That's an active PCO, meaning you're actively emitting an ozone byproduct that could be a concern or not. The other concern there is it adjustable? So now our bulb in this product is actually a dual band bulb. This is a 2-year light bulb as well. This is a special bulb as well. This is not the same thing as the T3, but actually has the same potency level. It's just in order to do this product design, we had to shrink it down to a 12-inch bulb because of the adjustability that we have in this. So it's a special tech I'm going to explain here in a second. So again, we have the bipolar ionization. We have 4 different electrodes. Actually, we have twice as much as Remy Halo, and I'll show you that in a second. So all these products are dealing with air supply. And then we move down here, and as I'm hinting at the lamp, right? So we have a dual band 10-inch lamp because now they have a 12-inch in the APCO, and then the Remy Halo only has a 6-inch. But the reason why we had the special dual band bulb design is we wanted to hit that peak performance that T3 does, but we still needed to make it adjustable. So as I hinted earlier, we have twice as much metal on the Solaris here. So we have 200 square inches of surface area with titanium dioxide on it to create that PCO. So we have a lot of airborne disinfection happening here. Again, APCO's got basically 2 metal sides plus the carbon. And then the Remy Halo, they have only 26 square inches because it is a round cylindrical design and it's not multi-zoned with the multiple layers of metal like we put in the Solaris. So again, we're leading on that one. Reactor dimension, again, I hinted we have twin active layers, so all the way around. I love to point out the construction. Again, Ultravation is right in Vermont. So we're all about being made in the USA quality. So everything on this product is stainless steel and aluminum. Whereas APCO's okay, they got aluminum. And then the Remy Halo's got plastic and aluminum. So there's a lot of quality improvements here. PCO, as I was hinting at here, right? So we have our patented blend. It's a titanium dioxide and silver blend for the PCO coating. And then as I hinted, we have the silver ions on here as well. So we have a lot of extra activity happening around the field when this is in the ductwork. But here's the big thing I like to stand up to, PCO adjustability. So we've always had adjustability on the predecessor to this product, which I hinted at earlier was called the Photomax. Well, the APCO is not an adjustable product because they have the carbon. So because that's a passive, the carbon's going to absorb the ozone, they're fine. So I have to clarify down here, yes, we are adjustable, and yes, the Remy Halo is adjustable, but based on the way they designed their ballast, you only have a 2-inch adjustment range. When you take the power head off of our product, we have a slide, basically kind of like a slide roll, but like a metal shaft in there. Attached to the metal shaft inside of the ballast is a special sleeve. So when you slide that back and forth, there's an adjustment marker in there that you can, as an installer, you look at and it says, hey, here's your CFMs versus square footage. How much do you want to adjust for basically exposure of the UV lamp? But the beauty of this, as I want to clarify down here, if I'm going to skip down, we don't limit the disinfection with our design, whereas Remy Halo does. When you actually adjust that range, you're actually blocking some of those slots in the way they design their ballast. Ours, there's no blocking. You're still getting all the UV exposure. We're just helping reducing some of that PCO reaction process. So there's a lot more flexibility here on the adjustability. So is it a zero ozone product? No. But can you really fine tune it and probably deal with most of the concerns? Absolutely. So the other big point here is that, again, higher end design, we have a nice electronic lamp monitor built into that power head. Most other companies aren't doing that. So you want to know if it's even working. If I was a service person walking into a house, I just got to go look at the power head and I can see if it's working or not. Again, I hinted at, we have the ionization. APCO doesn't have that tech on theirs. So the Remy Halos are most closest comparative, but we have twice as much ionization happening in there. And again, nobody has this, and this is the big selling factor. We can scale the product. If you want to add on a coil lamp, great, daisy chain, plug it in, ready to go. The Solaris will power that lamp. You can't do that with the competition. They don't have a scalability option for that. And another big win, we're lifetime. Lifetime for APCO too. Remy Halo, not. They don't have anything lifetimed. The ballast, basically you have 2-year on the PCO module, you have 5-year on the ballast, and per their warranty details, I don't know what it means when it says no warranty on parts that are outsourced. So I'm guessing everything that comes from an outsourced manufacturer, they're not going to warranty. We lifetime warranty the entire product. You just have to change the bulb. If anything goes wrong with our product, everything is in that power head. So your guys will never have to rip out the install. You just replace the power head. We'll ship you a new power head if something fails and you're done. Plug and play, pop your screws, you're ready to go. Okay. So a lot was covered there. Is everything pretty smooth, Doc? We good?
Yeah. I've done a lot of this reading already, so I've kind of got a handle on how this stuff works.
You make my life so much easier.
I've been trying to put this together. I just put some stuff together, trying to get a presentation together that we can start putting in the tech's hands so they can start talking to customers about it.
Yeah. And again,
so
this cross-reference, if you like it, let me know. And I have the PDF. We'll send it over.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
And stuff like this helps because everyone's like, oh, well, I'll get this, I'll get that. It's the same thing. Like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
All right.
You get what you pay for.
Exactly. So and I know you had asked about this before, M Series is our UV for ductless. Have guys used it in other products like PTAX? Yes. Because again, it's pretty much a universal kit, right? So you have your auto power sensing control module. That doesn't care who installed that ductless head, whatever they powered it with, we don't care. This unit is automatically designed to pick the power it needs and power those bulbs. The cool thing about the universal kit too is that you don't have to plug both bulbs in. Inside the kit, you'll have a bypass module that plugs into one of the bulb ports. So if you have a really, really small head and your installers can tell that when I put that bulb up there at dead center and I'm right there, maybe I'm targeting the coil, well, I have enough glow covering that surface area. So maybe I'll just save the bulb to change out next year and I'll just bypass that. I mean, these are really small heads.
Yeah, your 9s or 12s, yeah.
Yeah, so, but hey, it's nice to have the option. You got some scalability. So again, we also have, just like the last product I showed you, we try and put a little more tech in there to help from an observation standpoint. So we put in a visual and audible lamp alert. So if there's a problem with those bulbs and there's a failure, they'll get a little bit of a chirp. Okay, well, I'd want to know, I'd want to call my contractor if something's not working. So this is not a T3 class tech because it's just so small. You just can't make bulbs like that. So, so obviously you're going to be changing the bulbs on an annual maintenance cycle. So again, I've actually observed live installs of this product on Mitsubishi heads. I know I've not been able to attend a Fujitsu company. I don't even know what you guys work with. What do you guys normally work with?
We're brand neutral, but we mostly, if we spec it, it's mostly going to be spec'd as a Fujitsu. We're a Fujitsu elite dealer, but we've installed LG and Samsung and Mitsubishi, and we're brand neutral. We don't care what you want. If you want it, we'll get it.
There you go.
Given our own druthers, just because we know the Fujitsu as well, we put them in. So.
Yeah, Fujitsu's been around a long time. They're one of the big players out there.
We're doing a Fujitsu today, right now. As a matter of fact, I got 2 guys putting Fujitsu in right now as we speak. Nice.
Well, and something else I want to clarify with this. There is another product out there, and it's not ours, that people are targeting to that is, you know, UVC lamp based. The big thing I like here is that people forget that our kit, it has directional shielding wrapped all the way around the bulb. So the light can only emit out one side. And then the end points are actually swivel joints. So, and they come with 2-sided tape. So if you don't want to hard mount this and you just want to adhere the bulbs into the unit, great. And we even put a tape on the back of the actual power head too, power module. So most applications, guys are just sticking the bulbs up into the unit, and then next year they'll pull them out and stick new bulbs up there. But the beauty is those things can spin. So once they've figured out the right placement, depending on the manufacturer and depending on how much space you're working with, I know the Mitsubishi install I observed, they put the bulbs, well, they dropped the blower wheel out, the blower assembly out, so they can get up behind the coil, because that specific application had a lot of growth dripping off of the coil. So they wanted to shine those bulbs. They actually put the bulbs on the back of the head. So they reached up behind, adhered them on the back. And actually, I'll stop screen sharing for a second just for my hands. So they actually dropped the whole blower wheel out, adhered them up behind the coil, and then shined the light straight at the coil. And they had enough room to do that. And because they wanted to make sure that if anything did drip down into the pan, well, there's nothing alive, right? Because the UV is shining 24/7 on that. Yep. Now, I've had other applications, and maybe it was a Fujitsu, maybe it was an LG, not sure. A friend of mine, a colleague of mine in New England, he works with the product too. He said they were shining them onto the blower wheel. So, okay, it depends on the application. They had concerns with stuff adhering and growing on the blower wheel. That was their target, so that's what they focused on. I mean, you're still going to have to clean this equipment. Right. If you guys as you guys get bigger in the ductless market, people need a service contract. These things, the filters don't filter.
we sell a lot of service on these things. We have the machines to do the cleanings. We have the portable bibs, everything. We do probably 30, 40 of these a year in terms of cleaning and services. So we're doing a lot of that kind of stuff.
Well, I heard you say bibs, so we also represent Speed Clean.
Okay.
So, yeah, my team is your team. So kudos, because those bib kits are great. So I love that product. So as I tell people, yes, thank you for looking at UV. Please clean the head first, then put the UV in. And yes, you're still gonna have to come back and clean the head, but hopefully we're not gonna come back and find growth, and the cleaning will happen faster. Because we're just going to go in. You're still going to have to clean a blower wheel. I don't care who you are. There's so much. I don't know what you call it, Doc. Is it static electricity or something?
It's probably static.
Yeah, stuff just grabs onto that wheel and hangs out. And when people haven't cleaned them in 3 years, there's your efficiency problem. That's why it's choked up, and that's why you can't feel air 5 feet away.
We're not feeling the air move anymore.
Oh, trust me.
That's why it smells funny. There you go.
Yeah, all of that. So yeah, so thank you for cleaning them, and that's obviously going to be your top product for that.
Yeah.
I remind people again about the Orion. Our Orion generator is literally 3 times more powerful than pretty much everything else out there. I have no problem calling out and mentioning competition. So New Calgon came out with a product of their own as well. They've got
Yep.
three different models of their ion generators. I know their higher end commercial class product probably might actually defeat this one because, and plus they can wire that to 220 volt and higher.
Yeah.
We didn't target that for this market for this one. This thing generates a lot. And we gave you the option where these electrodes can actually flip backwards. So if you don't want to install this inside the equipment because you don't have the space, all you got to do is drill 2 small holes to get those electrodes through the duct. And I would install this residentially right before the filtration because you want to boost the ability of that filter to grab more particulates. And that's one of the advantages of ionization. So we make sure in the kit you get the power. If you don't want to 24 volt it and you want to AC voltage it, we give you the transformer. You got the magnetic mount. As you can tell by the design, it's definitely much higher quality. The advantage of our operation is that we have our own metal shop because we make all the filter boxes, so we get to make nice stainless steel looking products that are much more durable. So that's our ionization. Obviously, I hinted at, we make all the high-end filtration. We have the MERV 11, MERV 13 class filters. We make all the custom straight throughs, right angles, support boxes. We powder coat everything in Vermont. We will even custom brand everything to the contractor. We actually will do the high-end, nice screen printing on the doors. That stuff does not come off. We've put companies' logos on wherever they want. We'll color match them to the brand of equipment too. So we have contractors getting them specifically matched to their top brands they do on installs. But the big thing I like to just remind people at is if we're dealing with UV, ionization, whatever, if you got a cheap 1-inch Home Depot home filter, what are you doing? All right. Indoor air quality is more than that.
Yep. That's yeah.
So, and that's something I like to call out in these trainings since these videos go public is if consumers come across these videos, yes, you can, for a contractor, can get high performance out of our MERV 11, MERV 13 filters versus a HEPA because we actually give you 32 feet of filter inside our pleated filters. So because of the increased surface area, you guys aren't getting the pressure drop problems that a lot of other filter manufacturers try and get when they get to a MERV 11 or a MERV 13 class. This is why a lot of contractors stop at a MERV 8. They don't want to have to design around that. So I don't know what you guys do on that, but
we do all of our filtration. We try to do as much of the filtration as possible on the return side, which kind of helps takes some of that out of the equation.
There you go.
But now you're filtering every last bit of air going through that system. So yeah, we're not dealing too much with the pressure drop. We do get restrictions. In fact, I had to redesign the ductwork here at the shop, and when we put the filtration in, I wasn't getting enough return air, and I kept high limiting out. So we had to reassess and come up with a new plan. So.
Oh wow! Okay, well, that's fun.
Yeah, but we're trying to do this as a demonstration of what we can do, and we did it. So
Well, and again, one people like to remind me about the filtration too is it's not just, kudos for adding in a return factor to help reduce a lot of the particulates that are being pulled out of the rooms, because I know where you're going with that. But I also remind people that, again, the whole point of MERV 11, MERV 13 is not because you want to track more dust, is now we're getting into those micro things that we can't see. So the advantage of those higher class filters is that they're catching things. MERV 13, I have that in my house. My filter will literally catch auto emissions. It's so cool. And the other thing, actually, I'll switch the screen share real quick, is the other reason why we don't have the pressure drop problems and why our filters perform a lot better is because of this image right here. That's what our fibers look like.
Yep.
So we've actually done a star pattern to create nooks and crannies. And then our fibers are actually literally statically charged, basically. So it's kind of already got a taste of what ionization does, already stock in the filter. So that helps us catch a lot more of those particulate concerns that we're talking about right now. So I just like to remind people that, again, not all products are created equal. All right. So now, what was the percentage of your business you guys are dealing on the commercial side?
Less than a third, probably 25%, and most of it's small commercial. It's
okay.
The mom and pop kind of bodegas. It's we've got a couple of small restaurant, pizzeria kind of places. We did do one school, which was it's a private school, and we did all the air work in their gymnasium, and that was enormous. It was all done with splits, and it's been a nightmare from the start because it wasn't really ducted right. And
Oh, well, let's hold on to that gymnasium discussion for once I get done with this. So, so we don't need to spend a ton of time on it. I just want to make sure people understand, because
yeah,
Ultravation does it all. So we make the high-end commercial class equipment, as you can see here, that go into rooftops, hospitals, again, depending on what you're solving for. And even in the bottom right here, I hinted at the very beginning of the training what upper room, and upper room, we could talk about the gymnasium here in a second. So quick reminder, this is how people understand it. There's that graph again, blue and green, right? That's where UV matrix SI, UV matrix AS, blue and green. Well, so the entire commercial line of Ultravation is called UV matrix. So if you think commercial, think UV matrix, and then there's just different series of that. So then we always remind people, okay, once again, what are we solving for? Are we concerned with coil? Are we concerned with airstream? More often than not, commercially, it's probably both. But again, depends on what they're asking for. If they're looking for general disinfection, more often than not, you're fine doing a coil application if you have a rooftop unit like you see here in this image, because great, I have air passing through a coil. So if I've covered the coil with UV bulbs to keep the coil clean, and the air is passing over the bulbs too, and there are T3 class bulbs, well, you're actually getting some air stream benefits out of that, along with obviously the fact that you put UVGI technology on a coil like that. So this is our design. Our SI pretty much far exceeds most of the competition, because other commercial UV companies out there are not building the racks. Some are, but not all. Some people will sell you the big massive UV bulbs. They'll give you the wiring, but then you still got to figure out how to rack it and install it. So our SI design is telescoping. This is our obviously pulled out to full width, but we make these in different dimensions to fit the applications that you tell us. So we have a special guideline form that we ask people to fill out to give us all the specs of what you're trying to address. What's the size of the coil? What's the space you have? You'll notice on the design here, on the left and right, those silver rectangles, that's where all the components are at. We try and remove as much equipment in front of that coil as possible to not impede the fact that you need airstream moving through there. So
air's gotta move. It's kind of a rule.
you'd be surprised what I've seen on other designs. So they've tried to put everything as far out as possible. And then as far as bulb placements, this is just one example, but bulb placement might need to be adjusted. I know I talked to the one engineer, and he said, honestly, nowadays we like to see bulbs about 18 inches apart versus 24 back in the day. So obviously when you get the bulbs closer together, as far as vertically, that'll help you address, obviously as the air is passing by, my disinfection rate, okay? So some of our designs stock, if people are fine with general disinfection, you'll get 70+% disinfection rate. But then if you're telling me I need a 99% disinfection rate, or a 90% plus disinfection rate for what I'm trying to address, like airborne viruses, okay, well then we may want to discuss, maybe instead of 2 racks of bulbs in here, we're going to add a 3rd rack of bulb in there. Maybe we'll adjust the spacing. So, admittedly, you're going to get into some other discussions, and this gets a little bit more custom. We do have some standard applications and all the tech specs are on the website. I just try and remind people, hey, this is a great way to address those larger commercial solutions.
Yeah.
So now smaller commercial stuff, as you just hinted at, maybe the mom and pops, maybe they don't need the big rack, but we do we call this the 4X series, because this is a NEMA 4X rated enclosure, completely waterproof. So this is great to get bulbs into maybe smaller rooftops or smaller equipment on a commercial property, and I don't need to get into the equipment. So great, I just need to drill and cut access for the UV bulbs, and I'm going to try and get them near a coil or just get them into an airstream. So we obviously do have some nice waterproof solutions that are going to help with that as well, if you don't need to go full rack out. Now, the AS version of our UV matrix, obviously AS, airstream. It's that simple. So this is our design that we recommend for dealing with, obviously large supply ducts. A great tip on this, when we get into these designs, very often, sometimes we may need to put one of these on both sides of the duct, depending on the application, to get enough coverage across the duct. So, if you got a big supply run and it's 3 feet across, well, we need to have bulb coverage across the duct about at least 80%. Well, so you may have to look at different applications there. It might not just be one rack of bulbs like this. So anyway, that's our AS model. And then this is, to me, this year, the newer thing that I'm teaching on. I never knew what an FS series was. We never got trained on it until this year. This, according to Ultravation, was more popular overseas in Europe and other applications because a lot of buildings and structures did not have standard HVAC ducts, for example. So this upper room design is our FS series. There's no motors, there's nothing. It is based on convective air. So commercially, back to that gymnasium discussion, I would install this. You have to have at least 7 foot of minimum ceiling height, and we call that out here. And I will, as I click past that. So, and the box is very small. You know, this we're using 2 UV bulbs vertically inside the casing. We fabricate the casing at our shop. We paint it. You can get them in stainless if you want. We design these louvers to help dissipate the light and keep it vertical up across the ceiling. But the point here is that, okay, I need to address maybe a wide open environment. And Doc, since you've been in and out of the ASHRAE handbook like crazy, they call out upper room applications, and they show products like this above doorways going down a massive wide open hallway, for example, or strategically located down a wall in a massive wide open cafeteria. So this is a great way to increase basically wide open air concerns without having access to maybe you've already actually upgraded the ductwork and they want to amplify at another level. Okay, maybe you want to look at the upper room design, because this is all based on convective air. You know, cold is low, hot is high. It's naturally just letting the air move through the process. Now, these things are designed really for more like 225 square feet. So then you'd have to figure out how many you would need to address that wide open space.
Yep.
So
Okay.
I don't know if this would have benefited your gymnasium project or not. So
It may have.
yeah. Because it sounds like that was an adventure.
It was, yeah, it was 6 weeks. We'll never get back. I don't think we made a lot of money on that job.
Well, yeah, those jobs come up once in a while, and especially if they're government like that. So,
yeah. Well, this was like I said, this was a private school, so the guy had money, but we just kept fumbling. You know?
Okay.
And my job here as the project manager is to keep an eye on the margin like a hawk, and we're not making it. I'm not happy.
Well, and then is there other ways to look at doing things differently, like this application, for example? How can we cut costs? Can we do it better? Can we do it smoother?
Exactly.
Because that's where you guys are losing money, is labor and time.
Absolutely.
Or band-aiding somebody else's mistake.
Well, we're doing a lot of that too. We get a lot of somebody else, 2 guys in a pickup put this in, and now we're fighting that fight. So
yeah,
we fight that problem all the time here.
Yeah, so that's the last application of our UV matrix on the commercial side. We could start bringing this recording to a close, and then we do Q&A afterwards. I just remind everybody, hey, especially your section of New York, you know, I represent multiple lines, line sets, you know, thermostats, silicone companies. We actually have our Thermoflex Flex Duct company. We actually have IAQ specific flex. We have flex that the internal cores are antimicrobial. You can't grow it. So great for medical applications, other commercial applications, or people who just care that much in their home. Not everybody wants that in their home, but if they don't mind spending it, we got it. So that basically, that's to remind people that. And obviously, actually, in your part of New York, I will give a shout out to Cindy Mann of the ARIA Group. She's actually your rep for the Speed Clean product you work with in that part of New York. I handle upstate New York on her behalf for Speed Clean as well. So that's just a reminder on brand recognition and everything else. But as I promised, we could bring this towards a close as far as the recording, and then we can get into any remaining Q&A or cover anything else you want.